Everyone knows that New Zealand is not the cheapest of destinations. It's at the other side of the world, therefore flights are expensive, and then when you get here you've got to have accommodation. But what about the things that people slightly overlook? What about when you get here, how much is the grocery bill going to knock you back? They've made a mistake and they've overcharged me. And I just thought, do you know what? I never check our bill.
No.
Do you? In this week's show, we're going to share with you some life in New Zealand and tell you a few secrets that you may not know about living down under.
It's a Drama, coming to you from Taranaki, New Zealand.
Hello.
Daddy, I love him!
Mother thanks you.
Right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we are back to share some New Zealand life with you. We're going to be talking about the rising costs of groceries in New Zealand and tips on how you can make your money last a bit longer that we've discovered while living in New Zealand. We're also going to be talking about a pesky New Zealand pest that's pesked us all summer and ask you if where you're living in your part of the world, if you get this pesk as much as us. And we're also going to share some little stories about, like I say, life in New Zealand and just what's been going on a typical New Zealand week.
Ta-da! And we're out here. The farmer's just putting this young sort of calves in the paddock down below there. Maggie's just come down the steps. So Here we are. It's the first day of autumn.
It's the first day of autumn. We
Wow.
woke up this morning and we were like, oh my God, look at the weather. It's just glorious. We've got to do a podcast today. And how many times do we sit here and say, oh, you know, the Moanga's going to come out today and you're going to see Mount Taranaki and it's all its gloriousness. And we were like, quick, let's just get down there and start recording.
You see the clouds getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
See how big it is at the end of the show.
We have this kind of joke with the mountain that the minute it sees we get the camera out, it sort of like gets all moody and we're like, oh no, bring on the cloud a little bit. I'm not ready to be seen.
But it does it every time, doesn't it? And then we have to move a place or the wind picks up. Anyway.
So we hope you've been well. Let's just jump straight in to the rising costs of living groceries in New Zealand. If you move into I haven't said who we are. Oh, I haven't said who we are.
No.
Hang on a minute. I'll tell you about that in a minute. We're Liz and Brian, husband and we're so professional, honestly.
Yes.
If you've
the most professional YouTubers in the world.
We're pros. If you've just landed on this channel, we're Liz and Brian, husband and wife. We moved to New Zealand from the UK 13 years ago, and we now make video podcasts about what it's like to live in New Zealand, just chat to you about New Zealand, about travel, about life. And we're just so grateful that you are here with us on this journey.
Just our everyday perspective of what happens to us in New Zealand. Because that's it. People just go, oh, look at this wonderful tourist destination, this, that. We don't. We just talk about where we live.
Yeah. And if you're like moving to New Zealand, you want to know that stuff, don't you? Or just if you're interested in New Zealand, if you're coming for a holiday, I always want to know what's really happening in the country. So.
I know. I do. A Honda quad bike. That's the sound of the country.
So it's no, what's the word? What's the word when you don't know about something? It's no surprise. There you go.
Yeah. Thick.
It's no surprise to hear that New Zealand is expensive to live. I mean, it is.
Well, we are. We're two little islands, apart from the other little islands, where we mentioned that. Two main islands in the far corner of any map that you see, unless you get a good map that shows us in the middle.
I was going to say, do you know sometimes, Brad, they leave us off the map? What's
they
that
do.
all about?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know. Anyway,
I think what it is the Americans think that New Zealand is Australia. It's the same country. Yeah.
Okay,
maybe.
So we go on. What were you going to say?
So 4.5 million, 5 million people, the other side of the world. So with the same sort of population as Norway, Denmark, in quite a biggish landmass as such, bigger than the UK. And here we are. So, yes, shipping and things take so much, to cost to get here. But here's the thing that gets me. It's like, look, we've got masses of farmland, masses of dairy, masses of ways to grow food. But it's so expensive. Why?
All right, okay. So, all right then. So, let's get it. Should we go down that? Are we angry?
Yes, I am.
We're angry,
I think what it is...
I didn't think we were angry. I thought we were trying to help people realise that although food in New Zealand is expensive, we can sort of like give them some tips. But, okay.
No, we can say that. But it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I think that there's two sort of main supermarkets here that sort of, I don't know, they're copying European and American ways instead of just being New Zealanders, you know?
Okay, so let's just backtrack a little bit. Oh, I've got something to tell you as well about Countdown in a minute. We went to Countdown. Shall I tell them about that?
Oh, I don't know. Should you say Countdown? Or
Why?
Well, I don't know, because we're just naming and shaming.
No, Countdown is a nice supermarket, but I've
It
got
is.
something to say about it.
Okay.
It's not naming and shaming, right? But the thing is, it is expensive, as in your grocery bill. You go out. We used to spend, we've got a family of 4. My daughter's just moved out, but my son still lives at home. So I've always thought, and we homeschooled our kids, so we were always at home full time. So family of 4, feeding a family of 4, and we always used to spend on groceries about $350, $400,
Yeah.
and that's including wine and dog biscuits and cat food and washing up powder, and it was around about that. Now, Tess has moved down to Wellington, so Sonny's still at home, and granted, he is greedy. He's 21 and he eats a lot, and so but we're paying like $500. It's up. It's
like
getting there, isn't it?
Every time you go to the supermarket, if you don't shop it all in one hit, every time you seem to go, what used to cost you sort of like $70, $80, it's now $120 when you walk out, and you're like, what have I got?
I know.
You know?
I hate that, do you? When you go to the supermarket, you think, oh, I'll just nip in some bread and milk. You go in, oh, I'll just get some potatoes, just get this, just get that. And you come out and, like you say, it's $120.
Yeah.
You know what? Bri came home the other day, he went to Pack and Save. And it was so funny when you told me this. Bri goes, I just went into Pack and Save, and this big mouldy dude was walking in front of me with his trolley. And he goes, oh, old boy broccoli, $2.50. So, you know. And he walks away shaking his head like, you know.
Yeah,
It
it was actually
$5.
$5, and it's
Oh,
like,
is that
I
what
am
it
not
was?
going to be buying that for $5.
I thought you said it was
$5 for a piece of broccoli.
Was
That's-
it?
What's all that about?
Oh, I thought $2.50 was bad.
No, that's the countdown
I
story.
remember, Bri, when broccoli, and I don't want to, you know, I'm not all.
When I were a lad.
Yeah, exactly. When we were down the pit eating our pasties,
Eating the Orvis.
broccoli used to be 89 cents. And now $5 for
know.
a stalk of
Yeah.
broccoli.
And potatoes, $4.99 a kilo. What's all that about?
Well,
Hello.
this is the thing. This isn't
I
about.
think we get ripped in Taranaki.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Whereabouts are you in New Zealand? Whereabouts
Yeah.
are you in the world? Tell us how much your broccoli
How
is.
much your spuds are?
This is what, what's I just going to say? This is what I'm wondering is, no, that's not what I was going to say. I forgot. I've lost my trail of thought now, what I was going to say.
That thought of broccoli.
Yeah. No, what it is we went into Countdown the other day. Countdown is a big supermarket in New Zealand. Is it owned by Australia?
It's Australian.
Yeah.
Australia owns Countdown.
Now, before I say this, I want to say, even though Brian is saying, oh, yeah, you're going to name and shame, I'm not naming and shaming anyone, but this is a fact. This is what happened.
Yeah.
But before I say this, I will say this about Countdown. Their customer service is great. They sort anything out. If you got a problem, the staff, especially down in R1, Spotswood Countdown, spot on. Absolutely brilliant. Spot on from Spotswood.
Yeah.
So let me just say that before you think I'm having a go at Countdown. But we went in there the other day, right? And broccoli was $2.50, wasn't it? For
Yeah.
a stalk of broccoli.
Yeah. That's what it said. Big
Which-
yellow sign, $2.50.
Yeah. Which to me is still, but you haven't got any choice. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you can go to the local farm shop and get it cheaper, which we often do. You can grow your own, which we never do because we're rubbish at growing stuff. So you sort of like, you know, if you fancy a bit of broccoli for your dinner, you've got no choice, but you're going to be paying $2.50. Anyway, so we get it to the checkout. And luckily, I was watching, Bri was scanning it through and I was watching it. You know, we were on the self-checkout thing with our 18 items, even though you're only allowed 15. And it comes up broccoli, $5. And
No, but it had gone through, hadn't
Yeah.
it? $4.99 for one piece.
and
it's
the
like,
woman next to us, there was an elderly lady next to us, and she was like all quite flustered, wasn't she? And
Yeah.
she was calling over that she was ringing her bell. You know, when you ring the bell and the little light goes off. And she said, "Oh, I've just bought this broccoli. It was exactly the same, and it's coming through as $5." So anyway, long story short, they refund the broccoli money. It's $2.50. They refund it. And they were really nice about it. They were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's our mistake. Here's your $2.50 back." You know, they zap it with the card thing. When I told my mum later that day, I said, "Oh, Mum, guess what?
Guess what, Mum?"
$2.50. And she said, "Oh, do you know what?" She said, "Every time I go shopping, wherever I go shopping, I come out and whenever I check the bill, I mean, she's a bit of a, she goes through that bill like a.
Well, you have to work hard for your money, don't you?
You do,
That's
right.
the thing. It's not easy come.
And she said more often than not, 80% of the time, they've made a mistake and they've overcharged me, or the deal hasn't come through. And I just thought, do you know what? I never check our bill.
No.
Do you?
Do you know what? Sometimes, yes, I do, because you'll see something on supposedly special, and you're waiting for that to go through because that's why you've picked it up, because maybe you weren't going to normally buy it, and it's like you see it go through, you go, hang on a minute.
Oh, really?
It's like that should have been $6, or there's wine that you've bought or something that should be 25% off, and it goes through at full price.
Yeah. So what's that all about?
Yeah. Oh, we haven't taken the
What's
label
that
off.
all
Well, that's not
about?
our problem, is it?
Because you shop somewhere and you trust that what you're going to be paying is what you're going to be paying. You shouldn't have to get your receipt, sit in the car like an old flipping wizened hag going through.
But
Not
you
that my
know
mum's
what?
an old wizened hag. But, I didn't mean that, Brian.
But do you know what it is though, Liz, about wizened hags?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to, Brian.
I know, but it's never the other way
Oh, no,
round.
no.
Never. Oh,
No.
look, yeah. Oh, no, that was the one next to it. It's like, hang on a minute. Then put your label in the right place. No, it's all that. That's what I'm saying. Those tactics, like I was saying before, like American and UK, the way they sell things, and it's just, it's even like we've said it before. Pack and Save. They put the prices above on certain
it drives
shelves and
me
below
mad,
on
that.
other shelves. You're
Drives
like,
me
come
mad.
on.
Drives
Why?
me mad, that with Pack
Yeah.
and Save. If you're not familiar, Pack and Save, like, when you normally go to a supermarket, they've got the prices right underneath next to the, underneath, isn't it?
Yeah.
Underneath. But Pack and Save put it above. So sometimes if you're not like with it, which I'm often not when I'm shopping, you look at the price above and automatically think, oh yeah, it's $2.99. But that's for the cheaper version at the top. And you get to the checkout and again, it's like, oh.
No, it's like supermarkets. I don't know. Yeah, we've got to shop somewhere, but I just, like you're in the grocery section and they've got twice as many lights in the grocery section. So it makes everything look fresher and newer, and then you go to the meat section and they've got like a slightly darker coloured lights in the meat section.
Do you reckon?
Of course they have.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Do you know what I like, Bryce? When they spray the vegetables with water so it looks fresh.
Yeah, and whatever.
Do you know what? I'll tell you this. When we lived in the UK, and I don't know if they do this in New Zealand because I've never done it. I've never gone to this amount of trouble. But this was back in the UK in the 90s when we didn't have much money and we were like trying to save everything we got. We went to Tesco's and we bought 6 bottles of this wine that was on special offer. And back then, and I don't know if this is still the case, and I don't even know if they do it in New Zealand. So if they do, tell us, because I don't know if they do this. But back then, if you took something back that you weren't happy with, right?
If it was their
this is
own
really
brand
scabby.
as well.
This is super scabby. If you took something back to Tesco's, they would not only refund your money, but they would give you an extra thing of the thing that you'd already taken. Was that right?
It
would be like double bubble.
If it was their product, so say it was a Tesco's brand of wine, and you would take it back saying, I'm not happy with, there's loads of like weird stuff at the bottom of it, and they would give you the money back and the price back as well. So you get double refund.
So what happened was we bought these 6 bottles of wine, guzzled them, and then on the end, on the last one, we were like, oh, there's a little bit of not knowing that this is what wine is supposed to have. Oh, there's a little bit of gritty sediment in this wine, isn't there, Brian? Let's take it back to Tesco's. So we got our receipt with our 6 bottles on there, there was something back then, they were like £5 a bottle or something like that. And we're like, oh, excuse me, we bought these bottles for our party, as if. And our guests, as if we had any, our guests complained that there was sediment in it. She's like, oh, that's not good. She said, no. She said, and she looked at the receipt. She goes, go and get yourself 6 more bottles of the wine of the same value, and here's your money back. And it was like, we couldn't believe it, could we, Brian?
Yeah, double bubble.
That's the happiest I've been
Every
in my
week
whole
they used
life.
to do that until he sussed us out. No.
Yeah, so anyway, but the point is, and we're not being a downer on
it's not.
New Zealand, because actually we promote moving to New Zealand. We help people who move to New Zealand. We build community around people moving to New Zealand. And if you haven't checked out our free 5-day video guide about life in New Zealand, it's completely free, then go to www.itsadrama.com/ILoveNZ and you will get free 5 days videos telling you about some aspect of
Life
New
in
Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
But the point is, you've got to be realistic. We never ever sugarcoat. We try not to anyway. I know that some people will say, oh, it's all right for you. You live in the Naki and, you live in that lovely house and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which we're very
Yeah,
grateful and
it's not,
happy with. But
but that's anything.
we
It's
wanna
like
be
it's blood,
realistic.
sweat, and tears to get where you are
Well,
in this world half the time.
I won't get the
it's
photos
like,
out,
oh,
right?
you're lucky because of this, that, and the other. And it's just like, yeah, all right, yeah. The harder I work, the luckier I get.
So what we thought we'd do before we go on to tell you Sonny's story, our son, he's just gone down to Christchurch and I've got a funny story to tell you about that. But before I tell you that story, we just wanted to give you an up to what we're just talking about. So an up to paying a fortune for groceries. Because here's a little thing, and I've been meaning to share this with you for ages. You know that we love our food. We absolutely love food. New Zealand food, the best some of the best in the world, if not
it is.
the best in the world.
It's great stuff.
Especially their meat. If you're veggie, maybe just turn off now. But we are not veggie. We're carnivores and we love our meat. And New Zealand lamb, whenever we have a bit of a celebration, like a wedding anniversary or like, Friday night, whatever,
It's just
like
a Saturday.
Tuesday. We're like, oh, shall we splash out and get 2 pieces of that really nice lamb? It was like a little fillet of lamb, wasn't it?
It was a piece of butterflied leg.
That
of
was
lamb.
it. It was
Yep.
butterflied leg. You'd buy it in, I think I used to get it in Pack and Save. And it was all like, got rosemary and garlic in it and stuff. And we'd bring it home, we'd put it on the barbecue, we'd cook it so it was just medium, just still nice and pink. And we'd have it with gratin potatoes and peas and mint sauce. And it's just so good. And that was our treat. But that piece of lamb in that tray, like the piece of lamb, it was costing
It was about-
$20.
Yeah, $18 to $20.
Yeah.
And it would just only really do 2 of
It
you,
would.
wouldn't it?
It
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
2 pieces of lamb, 2 nice pieces of lamb. And that was our treat, our go-to. Anyway, just before Christmas, we were in Pack and Save and we had all our family come in to us. I had the kids.
It was
and
going to be like 9 for...
There was 9 of us.
9 for Christmas Day, wasn't it?
And we were like, oh, do you know what? It'd be lovely to have that lamb. And I was thinking, no way. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So that's going to...
$180.
Yeah. Well, no, 20 times 4.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the divide, yeah.
It's about $100.
It
And
would
I
have
was
been
thinking,
$100, yeah.
I was thinking, no, I'm not paying that for that, Anyway, when you go into Pack and Save, in our Pack and Save in New Plymouth anyway, there's a big, meat section in this middle. And in this section, there was these massive, well, not massive, not humongous, but
Yeah.
legs of lamb.
Yeah, well, yeah.
A giant.
Jurassic-style lamb.
And we're like, oh, that's natural. That hasn't been fed anything.
Yeah, no, it's South Island lamb, and it says grass-fed South Island
Yeah.
lamb, and you can get a big piece, a full leg, and it's like $40.
$40, right? So just remember that.
Yeah, because you're looking at the price, and it's around about $17, $18 a kilo. Where if you buy the butchered stuff, it's
We're not putting butchers out of business.
no,
are we,
it's
Brian?
not. No, because it's got to get to that point. But it's like you're looking at $34 a kilo for the same meat.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can just spend 10 minutes doing this, that, and the other, and that's what I suppose. So it's just labour costs that you're not paying for, and packaging and stuff
So this is what we've started doing now. This is our new thing, and we do it with lamb, we do it with chicken, we do it with beef.
Yeah, because you can get like a big porterhouse piece of meat, and it's like, I don't know, it might cost you $80, but it's down at $14 a kilo or $12 a kilo. It's nearly the same price as meat.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and it's just like, you just got to cut it up, and it's just like.
So we
wow.
have saved masses on that. I know, like you say, it's the outlay. If you haven't got the outlay, then you're going to struggle. But you've just got to think past that. Oh my God, $50 for a leg of lamb, but it's going to feed 10 people. It's going to do you 3 meals. Like we bought a leg of lamb the other day. We had 6. Brian filleted it all.
It was
got the bone out.
$38, and it takes you about 10 minutes just to.
It's worth it, Brian,
around,
isn't
and
it?
you've got this humongous piece of lamb that you throw on the barbie.
Yeah.
And not only that, you six people, and there was still
Stacks
Tessa
left over.
took 2 meals back down to Wellington
Yep.
with her, didn't she?
Yep, she took it
Yeah.
down to Wellington. There was still some left over in the fridge, and I'll tell you what's a really nice meal and a cheap meal as well. If you get some leftover lamb and shred it and mix it with some mayonnaise and a little bit of curry powder and maybe a few gherkins, what else do I put in it? Sometimes I put walnuts in it. It's like a lamb... coronation lamb, I think I don't know what the name is, but it's like a curry mayonnaise filling for a jacket potato. Oh, it's so good. And there's another meal we got out of it. So all in all, we'd got this main meal for Christmas and what we do now.
Still eating it now.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a slice in a minute. It's delicious. It's not rancid.
Big lamb.
So there's a little tip for you.
Yeah.
Just to just to try and I just think the key is try and buy in bulk. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the bigger pieces. I know you've got to have, like, we haven't got a big chest freezer. We've just got one little small fish and pike pull-out freezer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can get the odd piece in. You can't get 2 months supply, like, you know.
But like we went to Countdown the other day and I said, we need some potatoes. Went and got Agria potatoes. Lovely make of potato in New Zealand. I think I got 6 potatoes, got it to the checkout, $10.
What?
Now, in Pack and Save, you can buy a huge sack of potatoes, can't you?
For about $15, $20,
$16, $20, something like that. So again, it's just that thing, isn't it, of thinking, getting your mind past, oh no, that costs a fortune, to thinking, no, you can make it last.
Yeah, it's if you're on your own or there's only 2 of you, then buy a big sack, and it's like kind of like they're going a bit shrivelly by the end of the sack, aren't you?
Yeah,
so,
we don't care about that. You just give those to the kids or guess.
Yeah.
You know, when they turn up, make a little potato salad with those ones.
That's it. Boil them in the hot
Do you
tub.
know what? I know a lot of you are of the age who watch this channel. I know because you comment me beautiful comments, and I know you're of an age that you went through like the war and just, you know, that hard times, and you of all people will know what you will be able to give so many tips. So I said to Brian, you know, if you would be as kind to just in the comments just say like a meal or
What
something.
do you do?
What do you do? Because that generation are the generation that I look to now of going, how can we save money? Because you had it nailed. You really did. And yeah, so leave us a comment. I won't stop crying on YouTube again.
No, don't do that.
It's
No,
tears to my eyes, man.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's the thing that gets me is like snapper. Red snapper is like it's a main sort of fish that you'll get from anywhere. So it's a good like benchmark to go from. And it was always, even when we came here 14, 15 years ago, it was anything from $32 up to $38 a kilo over the past 10 years or so. And now it's gone up to like nearly $50 a kilo.
Should we leave this on a high, Bryce? Should we leave this
I'm just
section on a
saying,
high?
Why?
Yeah.
Because like we're not shipping it from anywhere. It's like diesel's the same price as this year as what it was last year. So what's costing so much more?
But it's great that you can buy that big piece of lamb and potatoes.
Anyway, don't get me started.
Oh, you're not from Britain, are you?
I am. Something about the jet engines when they stop when they land in Auckland, you can still hear them whining afterwards.
Anyway, listen, I'll tell you a little story as well. My son, Sonny, who's 21, his girlfriend has just moved down to Christchurch to start college down there. And he took her down at the weekend. And there was all this kerfuffle about the ferries in Wellington being cancelled. And he was waiting and, you know, he was waiting for hours for the ferry and all the rest of it. That's not what I really want to tell you. What I want to tell you is what he said to me when he phoned me up. Bearing in mind, we've got a family in Gisborne, and we have grown up with, or they've grown up with, their family would go fishing and, like, you know, get crayfish and fish. And I think Sonny just thought, like, you know, crayfish was like...
Cheap as chips?
Yeah, cheap as chips. Anyway, so he's driving down from Picton to Christchurch and just past Kaikoura, apparently. I don't know about this, but he said, oh, you do. You've seen it loads of times. It's like a little fish and chip cafe thing, and it's got a massive crayfish on the top. Anyway, he gets off the ferry and he's feeling a little bit peckish, bless him. And he thinks he's driving along and he sees the little cafe at the side of the road with this massive crayfish on. And he says to his girlfriend, who's 18 and also hasn't got much money, oh, do you fancy a little bit of fish and chips? You know, should we stop over and have a cup of tea and fish and chips?
Better than Macca's.
Yeah, it's better than Macca's. And my mum would be
Eat locally.
proud. Yeah, exactly. Support the local fishermen. And so he goes in. And he said he went in, he said, and in the counter was all like cakes and sandwiches and crayfish, and there was a fish and chip section where you could get fish and chips. He said, and I looked around the cafe, he said, and there was people sitting, you know, not his age, let's say
all with
elderly
suits on.
people. Slathered in gold, just eating their crayfish and, you know, their little chips and dipping it in the tartar sauce. And my son, he thought, oh, I'll have a little crayfish like that, yeah. So he goes to the counter and he says to the lady...
Feeling peckish, you've been up all night.
Yeah, on his ferry. He goes to the counter and he says to the lady, oh, crayfish, please. And the lady looks at him and said, is it just for you? And he went, yeah. And she goes, how much do you want? He said, well, whole one, please. And I said to Sonny, how was it dressed? He said, yeah. He said it was cooked and opened and dressed, and they gave it to you. And she said, okay. She said, would you like chips with that, hot chips with that? And he's like, yeah, I'll have it. And then he's like, to Hannah, what would you like? And she said, anyway, the woman, she must have known. She's totting it up on the till. And she said, so the crayfish is $150. So Sonny was
Cheaper than snapper.
sorry, yeah. Sonny's like, sorry? And he said, because Sonny gets so embarrassed. He gets so embarrassed. And he just went, and she went, that's $150 for the crayfish and $4.50 for the hot chips. And he went, I'll tell you what. He said, can I just have the hot chips?
That crayfish. I'll have
So,
two.
yeah, I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah. Well, that's unbelievable, isn't it? $150 for a cake.
I know.
Come on.
But Brian, you don't go into a fish and chip shop, do you? Say, oh, I'll have
It's
a
a
lobster,
fish and
please.
chip shop, isn't it, with a crayfish on top? It doesn't say come in
I love
very
crayfish.
expensive crayfish.
I love crayfish.
I know.
Do you know what? If I won the lottery, Bri, I would have that every night.
Champagne and crayfish every night.
I would. I'd have crampagne.
Crampagne
I'd have crampagne, and I'd
and
have
champfish.
yeah, I'd have a little garlic butter melted. And what I love to do is I like to squeeze the lemon on the crayfish and then dip the crayfish. Yeah, but Bri, it's delicious.
I
Dip
know.
the crayfish in the garlic butter. Oh, that would be so nice.
Very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, that's the one thing I do miss in New Zealand is the North Atlantic lobster, because it's very similar to crayfish. But
I was going to say, is it not the same?
No, it's not
not?
quite the same, because you only get the tail really with the crayfish,
Oh,
don't
okay.
you? You know, unless you want to whiz the legs up into a bisque or something or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that little story. So yeah, right. Moving on from our food section, I just wanted to talk to you. In fact, I wanted to share a story because this is so funny, and it leads to something that's been annoying us all summer. And I wanted to. Sometimes I think, is it just because of where we live that this happens to us? Like, as in, we're rural, we live in Taranaki, there's lots of farmland around.
Lots of cowpats.
Lots of cowpats. Is this just us? So, the other day, I'm on the phone to Tessa. She's just moved down to Wellington. Everyone was out. Sonny was out seeing his friends. Brian had gone out to the supermarket to be ripped off with the potatoes down the way.
Yep.
And I'm on the phone to Tessa, and in our kitchen, it's an open plan kitchen, and we've got our like kitchen islandy thing, not an island, but like a breakfast bar thing. And then to the left of the breakfast bar is our dog basket. And then we've got like the garage, and anyway, it's an open plan room. I don't know why I had to tell you
Not
that.
a garage in the open plan room.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm on the phone to Tessa. Now, before I tell you this, you need to know something about me. I am a very supernatural, witchy, in touch with my spiritual, ghosty ancestors kind of woman. I believe in all that stuff. I believe that people are around us, they connect with us. I believe in everything to do with ghosts. I'm very into it. I love it. I think that's why I love New Zealand so much, because it's got that very... We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not gonna digress. So anyway, I'm on the phone to Tessa. Oh yeah, how's Wellington going? Yeah, I know you miss us, but I know toilet rolls are $20, but never mind, love. Just get a good job and you'll be able to afford it.
Yeah. And you'll be able to get two toilet rolls a week.
And all of a sudden, I look over to the dog basket, and this mist of crystals, sparkly crystals, appear over the dog basket. And I'm like, oh, what's that? Now, just to give you a little bit of context, the windows were filthy. And when, we've got big windows in our lounge, floor to ceiling sliding doors. And when the windows need cleaning and the sun's shining in and you can see all those speckles of dust. At first, I thought it was that. But then I thought, no, because if it was speckles of dust, the whole room would be like it. It wouldn't just be floating over the dog basket.
Yeah.
She wasn't in it, by the way. She was out in the garden, the dog.
Yeah.
And I said, all of a sudden I came over all like, oh my God, what is this? This is obviously my grandma coming back to me to give me a message. So I walk over to the dog basket, and the smell of grapefruit was just overpowering. It was just like someone getting a grapefruit perfume, right, and going whoosh, whoosh, in your face, And I looked, and it's all these little crystals all swirling around my head. I thought, oh no, this is it. I was on the phone to Tess. I'm like, Tess, I've got to go. Something's happening. She's like, what's the matter? What's the matter? Tell me what you can see. Put it on video time. I'm like, no, I need to go. I just need to take a moment here. So I put the phone down. I'm so dramatic. And I'm like, oh, what is it? Who is it? And I'm like, is it you, Grandma? Who's trying to reach me? Anyway, then I thought, oh God, it's a sign. It's a sign that something's going to happen and I need to phone all my family. So then I phoned Brian at the supermarket.
Yeah. And it was very weird because Liz phoned me at the supermarket, and just as I'd picked up the phone, your mum walked in the supermarket.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, what are you doing? And then I'm listening to Liz and my hairs start going up on the back of my neck and my arms. And I ended up having to put it on speakerphone so your mum could hear.
Yeah.
It was just like,
And
oh,
that
this is
freaked me
very,
out
very
because
weird.
Brian said, I'm actually with your mum at the super. Well, she lives 20 minutes away. And I thought, in my mind now, it's all piecing together. I'm thinking, oh, hang on a minute. I've been visited by a ghost. And now Brian's with my mum in the supermarket buying the potatoes. And, you know, so I phoned Sonny. I'm like, you okay? And he went, yes, why? And I said, is everything okay? Don't drive fast today, will you? Just be really safe. I've had an experience. And he's like, oh, really? What? And I'm like, oh, and I told him all the story and all the glittery and the dog. And he's like, is Maggie okay? And I thought, oh, good point. And I went out and I was checking Maggie and I was like, okay, old girl, thinking, oh, well, she hasn't got much longer.
And you can hear her walking on the deck here.
And I made this massive deal out of it. I'm not joking. I was there. I was going to go on TV and tell everyone, like, you know, Liz has this
been
premonition.
visited.
Yes. Anyway, Brian comes home and I was still talking about it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is this and that's that. And what do you think it is? And, oh, you know, I've been granted these special powers. And then all of a sudden we just hear, tch.
This is exactly what it was. Like, and I don't even know it'll come on, but it's just these things, just like they're like automatic.
Don't turn it in your face.
Fly spray killers and everything, like, you know.
It was the fly spray, and it was what it is we'd put it on top of the piano, which is opposite from the dog basket, and every hour or whatever it is, it goes and flings out this chemical things that kills flies.
It was about 6 o'clock and the sun was sort of heading to the ranges, like, you know, so it was quite a low, or 7 o'clock, it was quite a low sun and it was coming through, and obviously, and no, it's an odorless one, but it's got a smell
It smells of bloody grapefruit.
It smells of grapefruit, and it's just, because it went off and I'm like, oh no, and I can smell it again. I'm like, no, that's what it is.
I was so disappointed. I really thought that was it. I thought I've reached that age now where I am going to be a medium. I don't need to do this YouTube stuff anymore. Exactly. So we just thought we'd just come on here and ask you, because this summer in New Zealand, people have had terrible storms, cyclone, horrible disasters, things happening. It's been a really weird summer.
Yeah.
But the thing that we've noticed as well about this summer, and I don't know if you have, wherever you live in the world, but the flies.
Sometimes the flies. You think that cyclone would have just blown them away, like, you know, just like.
And this is why we went out and bought that, because we don't normally do that. We just normally squat them or, you know, let them out, whatever, like, you know, Brian keeps the doors closed so they can't fly in. But it had got so bad this year that we said, look, I can't stand this. The only thing is, so, Brian, now it's like, because you don't hoover up often enough, it's like a fly graveyard in that kitchen.
That's the only trouble. After like a day, there can be a bunch of flies in the same spot around where that thing is.
And you know what? We met a guy down the cafe the other day, and he was telling us about Australia. I didn't know about this. He said in Australia, whereabouts in Australia was it?
It was Perth.
Perth.
Yeah.
He said the flies are so bad in Australia that they land on you. I can't imagine this. They land on you and they crawl up your nose and in your mouth. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it's the Australian wave, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And he said, and I never knew this, I thought it was like some sort of like gimmicky joke. You know, those hats that you get?
With the corks?
Yeah. I thought that was just like a joke thing that Australians thought, oh yeah, they look at us. You know, like, I don't know, I can't think of a comparison.
Yeah, like a man with a bowler hat is English and an Australian's
Yeah.
a guy with corks.
I just thought it was a joke. I didn't actually know that that's what they did.
No, all Australians wear them.
Do they?
Yep, everyone.
So yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because do you get flies? I don't know.
I think everybody gets flies, but it's just the intensity of whereabouts.
I don't
think
remember
the country
flies like
just
that in England.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, because you'd get like 4 or 5 of them just swirling around in the house, wouldn't you? Like, you know, but here you'll get like, you can get up to 80 flies in the house in one, you know, in one room, like, you know.
Not 80, that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Like, I tell you what, one night I was vacuuming up them.
Were you?
I was counting them. I got to 80.
Were you in your underpants?
I was.
Having a good vacuum. So yeah, that's that. So yeah,
That's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about it.
That's our week in New Zealand again.
Yeah, but for the people who, what are we doing for time? Because we've got this thing now. We said, are we going over too much? Do we go on too much? So we're trying to keep it short, like to a reasonable amount. Because
30 minutes is always short for us.
Yeah, we can tend to go on a bit. In fact, you could tell us if you like the longer ones or you prefer this sort of length. Oh, do you know what? Let me just tell you this. It's so funny. No, let me just tell you this. You don't know, but you might know Jen from 1,000 Words. She's got a YouTube channel, and I haven't told you this.
No, okay.
She's got a YouTube channel. She doesn't do it anymore, but she had this fantastic channel. It's called 1,000 Words, and it talks all about New Zealand, right? So we met. She also lives in Taranaki.
She doesn't live too far away. She lives about 50k away, doesn't it? Something like that.
She lives in Haura, which is just...
Manaia.
Oh, Manaia.
Manaia, the
which is
bread capital.
Just down the coast. And we met a couple of years ago. We've collaborated. She's been on this channel and talked about kids in New Zealand, other things. We've done a couple of shows together. And the other day, she's just such a lovely woman. And the other day, she invited me over to her house for a barbecue. And now me and Brian don't normally go out for a barbecue. So if you're watching this, Jen, you are honoured because we don't go anywhere, me and Brian, do we, Brian?
No, we don't.
We never go out. We sit here and moan about the price of spuds instead. But anyway, we went over and met her and her husband. He was the first time we'd met him, and we had this lovely night. It was just so lovely. She cooked this lovely food and we sat and chatted and all outside, and it was just beautiful. And then the next day, or a couple of days later, she messaged me. Do you know what she said?
Go on.
She said, when you came over, it struck me what a calm, relaxed person you are. Not like the hyper energetic woman that you are on your podcast. And she said, but then I realised that I listen to all my podcasts on ×2.
Nice.
So, yes. So she must be listening to me, and I'm like, and then I get over there, I'm like, what about the price of spuds? She probably just thought, who is this woman? Didn't she?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's that energy, isn't it? It's just like, wow. Yeah, like ×2 would be super energy.
Well, I listen to, when I go for a walk on the beach, I listen to my audio podcasts on time and a half. And it's true, when you do listen to them on normal speed, they can sound quite slow. And
yeah, well, it's what you get used to because you're trying to get that information, that hour and a half podcast into an hour, isn't it?
Yeah. By the way, big shout out to, I'm going to try and pronounce your name properly now, Poko, who we met on separate occasions.
Oh, did you meet as well?
Yes, I met him as
nice
well.
One.
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just down having a business meeting down at the cafe, and I just saw this guy. He just got off his mountain bike, just a pair of cycling shorts on, built like a brick shit house. He's a pretty big guy, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I just walked out, and I was just about to put my cup in the bin, and he's looking at me, and I go, all right, mate, how you doing? And he went, Brian.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, shook hands. Oh, I've been following you since COVID,
Do you know what though,
like,
Brian?
wow.
I think you need to tell the proper story. And if you're still here, I don't mind keeping you, because if you're still here, then you like our content and you'll like this story. But I didn't tell that story like you told me. What it was is you were having a handover business meeting.
It was, yes.
Because you did all the...
I was handing over my project management to another project manager.
Yeah, in one of your big projects that you've just finished.
And we were just getting to know each other for the first time,
So they're down the cafe. Brian's just done all his handover, and this guy was he in a suit?
No, we were just dressed like you'd had a business meeting. You know, it's just like we were like smart casuals. That's what it was. It wasn't super.
And he was
duper
professional, this guy. Yeah. And he said to Brian, thanks so much for what you've done today, because Brian spent hours with him handing over, and and he's like, really appreciate all your knowledge that you've got, Brian. You're a really great guy, and you know everything about project managing. And I'm just
didn't quite say that.
You didn't say that, Brian. That's what you told me. And he said, wow, Brian, you're really great. And he said, oh, what? Can I just ask, why are you giving over? Why aren't you doing this anymore? What are you doing? And Brian said, I've got a number of... They were sitting down the cafe where we always go. And Brian said, I've got a number of things that, we've got Liz is writing a book. We've got a podcast. We've got a website, a travel website. And we also do YouTube, where we help people come to New Zealand and support them in their move to New Zealand. And the guy goes, oh, wow, a YouTube channel. How's that going? And at that moment, Poco came over and went, Brian.
Yeah, but that's
No.
yeah. We didn't come out. He's like we were walking away from meeting Paco, and he just turned around and went, "Oh, a bit of a celebrity, eh?" I look
Can
like
you imagine? He probably just thought, oh yeah, as if, YouTube, as if. And then it's just, and he said to Brian, oh, you've got a bit of a following then.
it was funny, but it was just like
It was so funny when you told me
it was so
that.
weird, like, you know. But yeah, I never got to see you again, like, you know. But from Wellington as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
big shout out to you because I got to meet you. I was down the cafe with my daughter Tessa, and you also introduced yourself to me. So thanks so much.
Oh, you never told me that.
Yeah, no, I didn't
Yeah.
tell you because I was saving it till now.
Oh, right.
But we absolutely love it when people reach out and just say hi and come and introduce themselves and on the comments and in real life, whatever. Like, you know, it's just, we are here for you. This is what we do it for, and we appreciate you immensely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So until next week, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for watching.
Yeah, so kia kaha, stay strong, kia stay true, and see you from the Naki.
Until next time, bye.
See you now. Bye.
If you move into New Zealand and you tell people, they're going to say this to you. They're going to say, oh, you won't be able to get that when you move to New Zealand. Oh, you won't be able to find that. You're going to really miss that.
And, you know, he'd say to you, do you miss anything? I was like, to be honest, mate.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like sort of crestfallen as if like, what's wrong with ours?
In this week's show, we're going to share with you 7 things that people told us there was no way we were going to be able to find those in New Zealand and discover if they were right.